Behold, I am coming soon.
The true message of Revelation. Christ's triumphant return. Close your eyes, if you wish, and let the world around you soften. Imagine yourself in a quiet place, gentle breeze carrying the faint scent of salt and sea. The distant murmur of waves lapping against a rocky shore. Tonight, we embark on a journey through one of the most enigmatic and profound books of the ancient world, the Book of Revelation. If your mind wanders, that's perfectly fine. This is a story meant to guide you toward peace. So, breathe deeply and let's begin. Written by a man named John, exiled on a lonely island. This book speaks of visions that have stirred hearts for centuries. Its message is not one of despair, but of triumph, a quiet assurance that carries us forward. Like the steady rhythm of a heartbeat. As you settle in, let the weight of the day slip away. Picture yourself walking along a path of soft earth, the air cool and fragrant with a promise of evening. We will wander through the world of the first century, a time of emperors and exiles, of faith and persecution. Our journey will unfold gently in 4 parts, each one inviting you to rest deeper into the story. First, we'll immerse ourselves in the daily life of those early Christians who held fast to their hope. Then, we'll meet John himself, a man whose life was transformed by a divine calling. We'll explore the visions he saw, visions of a glorified Christ and a heavenly throne. And finally, we'll reflect on the lives of the powerful and the faithful, those who shaped the world John knew. There's no need to hold on tightly. Let the words flow over you like water over smooth stones. Daily life immersion. The world of the early Christians. Imagine yourself standing in a bustling port city of the first century, perhaps Ephesus or Smyrna, where the air is thick with the scent of olive oil, fresh bread, and the sharp tang of fish hauled in from the sea. Their lives are not so different from those around them, yet they carry a weight others cannot see. Picture a fisherman, his hands calloused from years of hauling nets, rising before dawn to cast his lines into the sea. A loaf of bread, once affordable, now takes a day's wages for some. Her fingers move with practiced ease, stitching tunics for wealthier families. She hears rumors of arrests, of believers sent to the arenas or exiled to distant islands. Her heart aches, but she clings to the words of a man named John, who writes of a vision, a city where tears are no more. These words are her anchor, her reason to rise each morning. She shares them with her neighbors, not with loud proclamations, but in quiet moments over a shared meal or a mended garment. Taxes to Rome are unrelenting, collected by men who care little for the poor. In the fields beyond the city, farmers toil under the sun, their backs bent as they sow barley and wheat. The harvest is uncertain, dependent on rains that may not come. For the Christians among them, each day is a testament to faith not just in the harvest, but in a promise far greater. They gather in small groups, singing songs that speak of a king who will return. Their voices are not loud, but they carry a strength that echoes through the ages. In the distance, the temples gleam marble columns dedicated to gods of war and wealth. For the Christians, these are places to avoid, for their faith forbids them from bowing to idols. This choice marks them as outsiders, whispered about in the streets. Atheists, some call them, for refusing the gods of Rome. Yet, they carry on their lives, a quiet rebellion. The water glints silver under the first light, and he whispers a prayer, not to Neptune, as his neighbors might, but to a God he believes walks with him. His wife, at home, weaves cloth on a loom. The soft click of wood, a constant rhythm as she hums, a hymn passed down in hushed tones. Their home is simple, its walls of mud brick, its floor packed earth, but it is alive with hope. Picture the sun setting over the hills, casting a golden glow over the sea. The early Christians lived in a world of stone and dust, of empire and expectation. Their lives were ordinary, yet extraordinary in their resilience. As we leave this world for now, let your mind rest in its rhythm, in the steady beat of their days. The sun beats down on cobblestone streets, worn smooth by countless sandals. To refuse is to risk suspicion, arrest, or worse. Yet they hold fast to their faith, meeting under the cover of night. Their voices low as they read letters from men like Paul or John. These letters speak of a kingdom not of this world, of a promise that sustains them through hardship. Imagine yourself sitting among them, the flicker of an oil lamp casting shadows on the walls. The air smells of warm bread and the faint must of clay. Someone reads aloud, their voice steady but soft, urging perseverance, urging love. Around you, the rhythm of life pulses steadily. Merchants call out their wares, their voices mingling with the clatter of carts and the bleating of goats. The Roman Empire, vast and unyielding, casts its shadow over every corner of this world. Its roads stretch like veins across the land, carrying soldiers, traders, and ideas. Yet, for a small group of people, life is defined not by the empire's grandeur, but by a quiet, steadfast faith. These are the early Christians, men and women who gather in secret, in the back rooms of modest homes, to share bread and wine in memory of a man they call their Savior. Life for these early believers is a delicate balance. The empire demands loyalty, sacrifices to its gods, oaths to its emperor. But life is not without its struggles. The markets are crowded, and prices rise with each passing season. Picture a young woman, perhaps a seamstress, threading a needle by the light of a small window. The seasons turn, and life continues its steady rhythm. As you imagine this world, let the sounds fade: the chatter of the market, the creak of the loom, the distant call of a shepherd. John's background and divine calling on Patmos as the sun dips below the horizon. Imagine yourself standing on a rocky shore, the air cool and heavy with a scent of salt. The waves lap gently against jagged stones, their rhythm steady, unhurried. You are on Patmos, a small, barren island in the Aegean Sea. Far from the bustling ports of Ephesus or the marble grandeur of Rome. He walked with him through villages, across hills green with spring or parched by summer's heat. John is old, his hair white as the sea foam, his face etched with lines from years of sun and hardship. He was not sent to this island by choice. The Roman authorities, wary of his teachings, sought to silence him. Picture him in that cave, the air cool against his skin, the scent of earth and sea mingling in the darkness. His heart is quiet, open, as if the island itself has stilled to listen. And then a voice clear, like the sound of rushing waters, speaks. Picture him seated in his cave, his eyes fixed on something beyond the stone walls, something vast and eternal. His life, his calling, is a bridge between the world he knew and the visions he now records. As we leave him for now, let your mind rest in the quiet of his solitude, in the steady rhythm of his faith. It is not the voice of Rome, nor of the priests who demanded sacrifices, but of one John knows well. The vision begins, and the cave, once a place of exile, becomes a sanctuary of divine purpose. Stories whispered among the faithful tell of a trial meant to silence him, a cauldron of boiling oil, a punishment meant to end his voice. Each step, each trial has led him here to this moment of revelation. The rhythm of his days on Patmos is simple prayer, reflection, the scratching of a quill on parchment as he records what he sees. The island, though harsh, is alive with meaning. The gulls wheel overhead, their cries a faint echo of the voices in his visions. The waves continue their endless dance, a reminder of the constancy of the sea and of the promises John holds fast to. Yet, John emerged unharmed, his survival a quiet testament to the faith he carried. The emperor, perhaps frustrated or fearful, banished him here to Patmos, where the rocky cliffs and sparse vegetation offer little comfort. The air smells of salt and stone, and the days pass in solitude, broken only by prayer. He heard parables told to crowds by the lakeshore, saw miracles that defied reason. A blind man given sight, a storm calmed with a word. The island is small, its paths winding through scrub and stone, leading to caves where he finds shelter. One such cave, cool and dim, becomes his refuge. The walls are rough, damp to the touch, and the faint drip of water echoes in the stillness. Here, John prays, his voice low, blending with the distant crash of waves. His life has been a journey of faith, from the shores of Galilee to this lonely outpost, and now, in his exile, he is about to receive a gift of vision that will carry his words across centuries. But those days were not without shadow. The world, John knew, was under Rome's iron grip, and Jesus' message of a new kingdom drew suspicion. John stood at the foot of a cross, the air heavy with sorrow, as the man he followed gave his life. The ground beneath seemed to tremble with the weight of that moment, yet John held fast to a promise that death was not the end. This is a place of exile, where the world feels distant, and the silence is broken only by the cry of gulls and the whisper of the wind. Here, in this solitude, a man named John, now old and weathered, carries the weight of a life shaped by faith and trial. Let's walk with him, tracing the path that led him to this moment, to the visions that would change the course of history. John was not always in exile. Picture him in his youth, decades earlier, standing by the Sea of Galilee. His hands rough from mending nets, the air thick with the smell of fish and damp wood. He was a fisherman, his days governed by the tides and the weight of the catch. The lake shimmered under the morning sun, its surface rippling like a sheet of glass. Life was simple then, predictable, until a man named Jesus walked by and called him to follow. John left his nets behind, drawn to a voice that spoke of a kingdom beyond the horizon. Imagine the dust of the Galilean roads clinging to his sandals, the warmth of campfires shared with others who followed, our faces lit by flickering flames as they listened to teachings that stirred their souls. John became one of the closest to Jesus, known as the beloved disciple. Now, on Patmos, those memories feel both distant and near. Imagine John walking these cliffs, his cloak a simple weave, of course, wool, the wind tugging at its edges. It is on the Lord's Day, a day set apart for worship, that John finds himself in the Spirit. John's life, from fisherman to disciple to exile, is a thread in a larger tapestry. As you imagine John on this lonely island, let the sounds of Patmos fade the wind, the waves, the distant gulls, the majestic vision of the glorified Christ. Imagine yourself seated on a rocky outcrop, the cool stone beneath you, the air carrying the faint tang of salt from the sea below. The island of Patmos stretches out, its cliffs stark against a sky painted with the soft hues of dusk. In this quiet place, where the world feels both vast and intimate, John, the exiled disciple, sits in his cave, his heart open to the whispers of the divine. They are not mere ornaments, but symbols of something greater. 7 churches. John will later learn, each one a beacon of faith in a world shadowed by empire. Do not be afraid, he says, and the words seem to echo in the stillness, a reminder of a victory already won. This is the one who was dead and is alive forevermore, who holds the keys to life and death. John, his quill poised over parchment, records these words, his hand steady despite the weight of what he sees. The waves of Patmos lap gently in the distance, their sound a lullaby for the soul. John's encounter is a bridge between the ordinary and the divine, a moment that invites you to rest in its certainty. The rhythm of his life, his faith, continues, steady as the sea, carrying him forward into the visions yet to come. The vision is not meant to startle or overwhelm, but to anchor, to remind those who hear it of a power that endures beyond the rise and fall of empires. Between his lips, a double-edged sword seems to rest, not as a weapon of violence, but as a sign of words that pierce with truth, cutting through doubt and despair. His feet glow like bronze refined in a furnace, steady and unyielding, as if rooted in the foundation of the world itself. Imagine the scent of the cave now, mingling with something new, a faint warmth, like incense or the memory of a sacred fire lingering in the air. The air is still, save for the gentle drip of water against stone, and the faint rustle of his cloak as he shifts in prayer. It is here, in this moment of solitude, that the heavens open, and John beholds a vision that will echo through time. The air is cool again, the scent of damp stone returning, but something has changed. The cave feels less like a place of exile and more like a sanctuary, a space where heaven and earth have touched. Outside, the waves continue their endless dance, their rhythm a mirror to the steady beat of John's heart as he writes. The vision of the glorified Christ is not a call to action, but a call to rest in assurance, to trust in a promise that outlasts the stone and sea around him. Let's walk with him into this moment, letting the rhythm of his experience guide us gently forward, but of order, of a plan unfolding with the certainty of the tides, the stars in the figure's hand, the words he speaks, the light that surrounds him all, speak of a hope that is both eternal and near, like the warmth of a fire on a cold night. John's task is to share this vision, to carry it to those who wait in the cities and villages beyond the sea, to those who gather in secret, their faith a quiet flame in the darkness. The vision begins with a sound of voice, clear and resonant, like the rush of a mighty river or the peal of a distant trumpet. It is not harsh, but it carries a weight that fills the cave, as if the very stones tremble with its presence. John turns, his breath catching, and there, before him, stands a figure radiant with light. Imagine the glow, not blinding, but warm, like sunlight filtering through leaves, illuminating the rough walls of the cave. This is no ordinary man. His hair is white as wool, not with age, but with a purity that seems to hold the essence of time itself. His eyes burn with a gentle fire, not to consume, but to see through to the heart of all things. His face shines like the sun at its zenith, yet it is a light that invites rather than overwhelms. This is the glorified Christ, the one John once knew as a teacher by the shores of Galilee. Now transformed, clothed in a robe that flows like a river of starlight, bound with a golden sash that gleams softly in the dimness. His voice, when he speaks, is not a shout, but a sound that seems to hum through the air, like the vibration of a tuning fork, steady and eternal. John, though he walked with this man in life, falls to his knees, overcome not by fear, but by awe. The cave, once cold and barren, feels alive now, as if the very air hums with purpose. In his hand, the figure holds 7 stars, each one twinkling faintly, like fireflies caught in the palm of a child. John listens as the figure speaks, his words clear yet gentle, carrying a promise that settles over the heart like a soft blanket. Picture John now, seated in the dim light of his cave, the glow of the vision fading, but its memory etched into his soul. This vision sets the tone for all that follows. It is a reminder that the story John will tell is not one of chaos or destruction. As you linger in this moment, let the image of the cave fade, the light of the vision softening into memory. Letters to the 7 churches, warnings and promises. Picture yourself seated by a small window in a modest home. The air warm with the scent of baked bread and the faint sweetness of olive oil burning in a clay lamp. Outside, the streets of a first-century city or Smyrna hum with the soft chatter of evening, the clink of coins in a market, and the distant bleat of a goat. The world feels alive, yet fragile, under the vast shadow of the Roman Empire. In this quiet moment, imagine a group of early Christians gathered around a table, their faces lit by the flickering light. This is a city where power and faith collide, where Christians walk a narrow path. Here, the Christians are known for their love, their service, their works that shine like small lamps in the dusk. Its streets are lined with grand buildings, but the church here is warned that its faith is like a fire that has grown cold. The Christians here are few, their strength small, yet their faith is unshaken. They have kept the word, endured the trials, and the letter offers no rebuke, only praise. A door stands open before them, one no one can shut, leading to a place of safety and honor. They are promised a pillar in a temple that will never fall, a name written in eternity. Picture a young mother, her child asleep in her arms. Hearing this, her heart warmed by the thought of a foundation that endures. They have a name for being alive, yet their spirit sleeps. The Christians here are neither cold nor hot. Their faith lukewarm, like water left too long in the sun. The words are both warning and comfort, a reminder that their lives, their struggles are seen. The rhythm of their day's work, prayer, perseverance, continues, steady as the tides. As we leave these cities, let the sounds of their streets fade, the scent of oil and bread softening into memory. The letters are a call to hold fast, to rest in promises that endure like stars in a quiet sky. The letter calls them to seek true riches, to open their doors to the one who knocks. To those who listen, a promise, a seat beside the one who reigns, a share in his triumph. Imagine a scribe, his quill paused, feeling the gentle sting of these words, yet finding hope in the call to return. The letter calls them to wake, to strengthen what remains, like a gardener tending a wilting vine. A few, it says, have kept their garments clean, their faith untarnished. To them, a promise is given a place in a book of life, their names spoken before the heavens. Imagine an elder, his hair gray, sitting in the quiet of his home, the words stirring him to renew his heart, to rekindle the flame that once burned bright. But some have been swayed by voices that lead them astray, tempting them to blend their faith with the ways of the world. The letter speaks plainly, yet gently, of consequences for those who do not turn back a time of trial, like a storm that tests the strength of a house. Yet to those who hold fast, a promise, authority over nations, a share in the morning star that rises in the dawn. Picture a merchant, his hands worn from years of trade, hearing these words, his heart lifted by the thought of a light that never fades. The letter praises their courage, for they hold fast even in a place where loyalty to Rome is demanded. One of their own, a man named Antipas, gave his life, his faithfulness, a quiet testament in a city of altars. Yet some have wavered, drawn to teachings that blur the line between truth and compromise. The words call them back, urging them to stand firm, like a tree rooted against the wind. To those who overcome, a hidden sustenance is promised, a white stone bearing a new name, known only to the one who receives it. Imagine a woman, a weaver, clutching this promise, her fingers tracing the threads of her loom as she whispers it to herself, a secret hope in a world of stone. They are waiting for a letter, words penned by John, the exiled disciple, carrying messages from the glorified Christ himself. These are the letters to the 7 churches, each one a mirror held up to the faithful, reflecting their strengths, their struggles, and the promises that sustain them. Let's walk through these cities, letting their stories unfold like a gentle tide. The first letter arrives in Ephesus, a city where the air is thick with the scent of spices and the clamor of trade. Imagine walking its broad streets, lined with marble columns and statues of gods that gleam under the sun. The temple of Artemis, one of the wonders of the world, looms in the distance, its steps crowded with worshippers offering sacrifices. Here, the Christians are steadfast, their faith a quiet anchor in a sea of idols. John's letter praises their endurance, their refusal to bow to false teachings. Yet, the words carry a gentle rebuke. They have forgotten their first love, the passion that once burned like a flame in their hearts. Imagine the believers hearing this, their heads bowed, the weight of the words settling over them like dust. They are called to remember, to return to the love that first bound them together. To those who listen, a promise is given, a place in a garden where life blooms eternal, a tree whose fruit never fades. Now, let your mind drift to Smyrna, a city by the sea, where the air carries the Thames of salt and the faint smoke of altars. The Christians here are poor, their homes simple, their tables sparse. Yet their faith is rich, unshaken by the whispers of persecution that echo through the streets. John's letter speaks of their trials, of lives pressed hard by the weight of suspicion and slander. Some face imprisonment, their days marked by the clank of chains and the cold of stone cells. The letter does not shy away from their hardship, yet it offers no despair. Instead, it speaks of a crown of life, a reward for those who remain faithful, even when the world seeks to crush them. Picture a young man, perhaps a potter, his hands stained with clay, hearing these words. His heart steadies, like a ship finding its course, knowing his suffering is seen, his loyalty cherished. In Pergamum, the air feels heavier, thick with the incense of temples dedicated to Caesar and Zeus. Thyatira's streets are alive with the clatter of workshops, the air rich with the scent of dyed cloth and molten bronze. Sardis, a city of wealth and pride, feels different. Philadelphia, a smaller city, feels the tremors of the earth, its walls scarred by quakes. Finally, Laodicea, a city of wealth, where the air smells of fine perfumes and the clink of coins is ever present. As these letters are read, imagine the believers in each city gathered in their homes, the lamplight casting soft shadows, heavenly worship, and the scroll with 7 seals. Imagine yourself seated in the cool dimness of a cave on Patmos. The air heavy with the scent of damp stone and the faint salt of the sea beyond. The world outside is quiet, save for the rhythmic lapping of waves against the shore, a sound that seems to echo the steady pulse of time itself. The throne is the heart of this vision, its presence steady and unyielding, like a mountain rooted in the earth. They are seated, their movements slow and deliberate, as if time itself bends to their reverence. But like the gentle roll of waves, each note building on the last, creating a harmony that soothes the soul. It is no ordinary document, but a vessel of divine purpose, holding the plan for all that is to come. The scroll is heavy with meaning, its seals unbroken, a mystery that waits to be unveiled. A voice calls out, seeking one worthy to open it, and a hush falls over the heavenly assembly. The cave on Patmos returns, its cool air and steady drip of water, a quiet echo of the vision's rhythm. John's task is to carry this moment forward, to share its promise with those who wait beyond the sea. Let your mind rest in this image, in the steady pulse of worship, as we prepare to move deeper into the visions yet to come. The elders are silent, the creatures still, as if the universe itself holds its breath. No one steps forward, not in heaven, nor on earth, nor under the earth. John's heart aches, a quiet sorrow, for the scroll's secrets seem locked away forever. The elders cast their crowns before the throne, a gesture of humility. Their gold glinting as it rests on a sea of glass, smooth and clear as crystal. His presence is not fearsome, but gentle, like a shepherd returning to his flock. His eyes hold a quiet wisdom, and his form, though marked by sacrifice, radiates a victory that fills the air with hope. The Lamb takes the scroll, and the silence breaks into song once more. The elders and creatures lift their voices, joined now by countless angels. Their harmony, like the rustle of leaves in a vast forest. They sing of the Lamb's worthiness, of a sacrifice that redeemed the people from every corner of the earth. The air is thick with the scent of incense, rising from the prayers of the faithful, mingling with the music to create a tapestry of worship. The air hums with their song, a melody that seems to carry the weight of creation itself. The light of the vision lingers in his eyes, its glow softening the rough stone around him. The scroll, now in the Lamb's hands, is a promise that the future is not chaos but purpose, a plan unfolding with the certainty of the tides. The worship continues, a rhythm that carries Janand youth through the vision, like a boat gliding over calm waters. The elders' crowns, the creature's song, the lamb's quiet strength all weave together into a moment that feels both eternal and near, a reminder that even in exile, hope endures. As you listen, let your mind rest in this scene, in the steady cadence of their praise, like a lullaby that invites peace. Beside them, 4 living creatures stand, their forms strange yet harmonious, each one a blend of strength and mystery. One is like a lion, its mane catching the light. Another like an ox, steady and enduring. A third with a face like a man, wise and watchful. And the fourth like an eagle, its wings folded but poised for flight. Their eyes, countless and unblinking, seem to see all things, yet their gaze is calm, not piercing. Together they sing, their voices weaving a hymn that fills the air like the sound of a distant choir. Steady and unending. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Around it, the air is alive with the scent of something sacred, perhaps incense. Its fragrance curling like mist, or the faint sweetness of flowers that never fade. Seated on the throne is one whose form is not described, for no words could capture the fullness of such glory. Instead, John sees a radiance, like the shimmer of jasper or the deep red glow of carnelian, colors that seem to hold the essence of eternity itself. John, the exiled disciple, sits nearby, his quill poised over parchment, his eyes fixed on something beyond the rough walls of his refuge. The cave, once a place of solitude, now feels alive with a presence that hums in the air, like the soft vibration of a distant hymn. In this moment, John's vision shifts from the earthly to the eternal, carrying him and you into a scene of heavenly worship, where the rhythm of adoration unfolds like a gentle tide. Let's step into this vision, letting its calm majesty wash over us. The scene opens before a throne, vast and radiant, set in a place where light seems to pulse like a living thing, not harsh but warm, like the glow of dawn over a still sea. Encircling the throne are 24 elders, their robes white as moonlight, their heads crowned with gold that gleams softly in the light. Imagine the rhythm of their worship, not loud or overwhelming. In the right hand of the one on the throne rests a scroll, sealed with 7 seals, its parchment ancient yet untouched by time. But then a figure appears, the Lamb, standing as though it had been slain, yet alive with a strength that defies death. Picture John still in his cave, his quill moving steadily as he records this scene. As we leave this heavenly scene, let the sounds of worship fade, the glow of the throne softening into memory, the 4 horsemen and seals of judgment. Imagine yourself back in the quiet of John's cave on Patmos. The air cool and heavy with the scent of damp stone, the distant murmur of waves, a steady rhythm against the shore. From the light of the throne, a white horse emerges, its rider holding a bow, a crown resting lightly on his head. He moves with purpose, his horse's hooves silent yet swift, as if riding on a wind that carries him across the earth. His voice is measured, announcing the cost of wheat and barley, prices that soar beyond the reach of the poor. Its rider is named Death, and the grave follows close behind. Beneath an altar in the heavens, John sees the souls of those who gave their lives for their faith. The sun darkens like a veil drawn across the sky. The moon glows red like embers fading in the night. Stars seem to fall, and the heavens shift as if the very fabric of creation pauses. Imagine standing on a hill, the air cool and still, the sky above shifting in ways that defy the ordinary. Yet, this is not chaos, but a sign, a moment when the world is called to see its fragility. The vision speaks of kings and commoners alike seeking shelter, their voices hushed by the weight of what unfolds. For John's listeners, this was a reminder that even empires, vast as Rome, are not eternal. The rhythm of the world, though shaken, is held in a greater hand. Their voices rise, not in anger, but in a calm plea, asking how long until justice comes. The cave around him feels smaller now, its walls a faint echo of the vastness he sees. John's task is to carry these warnings forward, to share their call to perseverance with those who wait beyond the sea. Let your mind rest in the rhythm of his vision, in the promise that even in judgment there is a purpose, steady as the tides. The visions are not meant to startle, but to call, to urge those who hear to endure, to trust in a plan that unfolds beyond the horseman's ride. The air in the cave is cool, the scent of salt lingering, and the waves outside continue their endless dance. A rhythm that mirrors the steady pulse of hope in John's words. They are given white robes, symbols of purity and promise, and told to rest a little longer. Imagine their presence not as a cry for vengeance, but as a chorus of patience, their robes glowing softly like moonlight on a still sea. The air carries the faint scent of sanctity, a reminder that their sacrifice is seen, their hope unbroken. For the early Christians, This was a comfort. Those lost to persecution were not forgotten. Their lives woven into a greater story. This horseman moves silently, his presence a shadow over the earth, bringing pestilence, conflict, and the quiet end of lives cut short. Imagine a city where the air grows heavy with the scent of herbs burned to ward off disease, where the rhythm of daily life slows under the weight of loss. The vision does not paint the scene with vivid horror, but with a somber truth. A portion of the earth feels the touch of this rider, its people tested by trials that seem relentless. For John's audience, this was no mere symbol disease swept through crowded streets, and persecution claimed the faithful. Yet, the vision is not without hope, for even in this shadow, there are those who endure, their faith a quiet light in the darkness. This is the horseman of famine, a shadow that falls over fields where crops wither under a merciless sun. Picture a village, its streets quiet, the air heavy with the dust of unyielding earth. Families gather around sparse tables, their hands empty, but their hearts clinging to faith. The vision does not dwell on hunger's bite, but on its weight, the way it presses on lives already burdened by tax and toil. For those in John's time, famine was a reality. Harvests failed, and Rome's demands left little for the common folk. Yet, the writer spares the oil and wine, a nod to the wealth that endures while others suffer, a contrast that echoes through the ages. This is the horseman of conquest, a symbol of ambition and power, of empires that rise and spread like wildfire across dry fields. Imagine the cities of the first century, their streets bustling with traders and soldiers, their air thick with the scent of ambition coin, incense, and the sweat of labor. The rider's crown gleams, but his victories are fleeting, a reminder that human triumphs often carry a hidden cost. For those who heard John's words, this rider was a mirror of Rome's reach, its banners fluttering over distant lands. Yet, the vision calls them to look beyond to a greater authority. The flicker of an oil lamp casts soft shadows on the rough walls, and John sits, his quill scratching softly as he records the visions unfolding before him. The scene in his mind is vast, a continuation of the heavenly throne room where the Lamb holds the scroll with 7 seals. The air feels charged, not with fear, but with a quiet weight, like the stillness before a gentle rain. As the Lamb begins to open the seals, the vision shifts, revealing images that speak of judgment and endurance. Let's follow John into this moment, letting the rhythm of his words guide us like a slow current carrying us forward. The first seal is broken, and a sound like thunder rolls through the heavens, not loud or jarring, but deep, like the echo of a distant drum. The second seal opens, and another horse appears, this one red as the embers of a dying fire. Its rider holds a great sword, not raised in triumph, but poised to divide. This is the horseman of war, and where he rides, peace falters. Imagine the fields beyond a city, once green with wheat, now trampled under the weight of marching feet. The air carries the faint clang of metal, the murmur of voices raised in conflict. Lives are disrupted, homes left empty as the shadow of strife spreads. Yet the vision does not linger on the clash of swords or the cries of battle. Instead, it speaks of consequences, a world unsettled, its rhythm broken, like a song that has lost its melody. For the early Christians, war was no distant idea. It was the threat of legions on the horizon, the fear of villages caught in the empire's disputes. The vision urges them to endure, to hold fast to a hope that outlasts the tumult. With the third seal, a black horse steps forward, its rider holding scales, the kind used in markets to weigh grain. The fourth seal brings a pale horse, its hue like ash or the faint green of decay. As the fifth seal is opened, the scene shifts. The sixth seal brings a vision of cosmic upheaval. The earth trembles as if the ground itself sighs under the weight of time. As the seals are opened, John's quill moves steadily, capturing each image with care. As we leave this vision, let the images soften the horses fading, the throne room dimming, the cave returning to its quiet solitude. Trumpet judgments and the call to repentance. Picture yourself once more in the quiet of John's cave on Patmos. The air cool and carrying the faint scent of sea salt and weathered stone. The soft drip of water echoes in the stillness, a steady rhythm that blends with the distant murmur of waves against the rocky shore. From the heavens, a storm descends, not wild or chaotic, but heavy with purpose. Hail and fire fall, mingling with the earth, touching a portion of its forests and fields. It touches the rivers and springs, and their waters grow bitter, like the taste of wormwood on the tongue. Imagine a village where families gather at a well, their buckets heavy, only to find the water undrinkable, their faces etched with quiet worry. A star falls, and with it comes a key that unlocks a deep abyss. The air carries the faint clatter of hooves, the weight of countless steps, as if the earth itself groans under their march. The air around him is cool, the scent of salt and stone, a quiet anchor as he writes. The trumpets are not a cacophony, but a series of calls, each one measured like the tolling of a bell in a still night. They speak of a world tested, of consequences that unfold when hearts turn away, yet they carry a thread of mercy, a chance to return, to find forgiveness before the final judgment. For those who heard John's words, scattered across cities like Ephesus or Laodicea, the trumpets were a reminder of their own lives, their struggles under Rome's shadow, their hope in a promise greater than empires. Lives are lost, and the world feels the shadow of this force. Yet the vision does not dwell on the strife itself, but on its aftermath, a world unrepentant, its heart hardened like stone. Picture a marketplace, once bustling, now quiet, the scent of spices and bread replaced by the dust of upheaval. The early Christians, hearing this, would think of Rome's legions, of wars that swept through distant lands. Yet the trumpet urges them to turn back, to seek a path of peace before the final note sounds. From its depths rises a cloud, like smoke curling from a hidden fire, and with it, creatures that swarm like locusts, yet move with a purpose beyond nature. Their presence is a torment, not a destruction, touching those who have turned from the divine path. The lamp's flicker returns, its light steady, like the faith that sustains him. The visions are a call to perseverance, to rest in a hope that endures through trial. Let your mind settle in this quiet, in the steady pulse of John's task, as we prepare to move deeper into the story he records. Imagine a city where the air grows thick, the hum of wings a constant murmur, like a storm that does not break but lingers. The vision is careful, avoiding the chaos of despair, focusing instead on the weight of consequence. For John's listeners, this was a reminder of spiritual struggles, of pressures that tested their faith in a world of idols and emperors. The trumpet sound is a call to endurance, to hold fast through the trial. The vision speaks of hardship, of a world where even the necessities of life are tested. For John's audience, this was a reality. They knew cities where water was scarce, where disease could spread through tainted streams. The trumpet's note is a plea, not a punishment, urging those who hear to seek a deeper source of life, one that flows beyond the earth's fragile springs. Imagine a landscape where green hills once stood, now scorched. The air thick with the scent of charred wood and damp earth. The sun, moon, and stars lose a portion of their light, as if a veil has been drawn across the sky. Picture a night where the stars are fewer, the moon a faint crescent, the air cooler and heavier, as if the world holds its breath. This is not an end, but a pause, a moment when the rhythm of day and night falters. For the early Christians, living in a world where omens were read in the skies, this vision would stir thoughts of Rome's grandeur, its temples gleaming under the sun, now humbled by a greater power. The trumpet calls them to look beyond the fading light to a hope that endures, The vision is not one of total ruin, but of a warning, a sign that stirs the heart to turn back. For John's listeners, living in cities where harvests were life itself, this image would echo the fragility of their world fields that could fail, rains that might not come. Yet, the trumpet's call is not meant to terrify, but to awaken, to urge those who hear to pause and reflect. John sits nearby, his face lit by the faint glow of an oil lamp, his quill moving slowly across parchment as he records the visions unfolding in his mind. The cave feels like a sanctuary, now a place where the earthly and the divine meet. Its rough walls softened by the weight of what John sees. The vision shifts from the seals to a new series of signs, 7 trumpets, each one sounding a note that ripples through the heavens and the earth. Let's step gently into this vision, letting its rhythm guide us like a slow, steady current. The first trumpet sounds, its note clear and resonant, like the call of a horn carried on the wind. The second trumpet follows, its sound deeper, like the roll of waves gathering strength. A great mass, like a mountain burning with fire, plunges into the sea, and a portion of its waters turns bitter, like a tide stained with sorrow. Fish drift lifeless, and ships falter, their sails limp in a suddenly still air. Picture a coastal city, perhaps like Smyrna, where the sea was both livelihood and lifeline, now touched by this vision of loss. The air carries a faint tinge of salt and something heavier, a reminder of waters no longer sustaining life. The early Christians, hearing this, would think of their own struggles, lives dependent on trade, on the sea's bounty, now shadowed by divine warning. Yet the vision remains measured, its scope limited, a call to turn back before it's too late. With the third trumpet, a star falls from the sky, its light not radiant but dim, like an ember fading in the night. The fourth trumpet sounds, and the heavens themselves seem to dim. The fifth trumpet brings a stranger vision. The sixth trumpet unfolds with a vision of vast armies, their numbers like the sands of the shore, moving across the earth with a purpose that feels relentless yet distant. Through each trumpet, John's quill moves steadily, capturing the weight of these visions in the dim light of his cave. As we leave this vision, let the sound of the trumpets fade, their notes softening into the rhythm of the waves outside John's cave. Spiritual warfare, the woman, the dragon, and the beasts. Imagine yourself seated once more in the quiet of John's cave on Patmos. The cool air brushing against your skin, carrying the faint scent of sea salt and the must of ancient stone. The soft glow of an oil lamp flickers, casting gentle shadows that dance across the rough walls. Like whispers of the visions John records. At her feet lies the moon, its silver glow soft and steady, and on her head rests a crown of 12 stars, each one twinkling like a promise kept. She is radiant, yet her face carries the weight of expectation, for she is about to give birth. Michael, an archangel, stands with his host, their presence like a chorus of light, steady and unyielding. The dragon, revealed as the ancient adversary, is cast down, its influence diminished, like a fire that burns out in the night. It works signs, dazzling those who watch, and calls for a mark 666, a number that signifies imperfection, a human attempt to rival the divine. The cave around him is quiet, the lamp's light soft, its glow a reminder of the light that endures in his words. The cave returns, its cool air and steady drip of water a gentle anchor. John's task is to carry this vision forward, to share its promise with those who wait beyond the sea. Let your mind rest in the rhythm of this story, in the assurance that even in struggle, there is a refuge, a hope as constant as the tides. The woman, the dragon, the beasts, they are symbols of a larger story, one where opposition rises but cannot prevail. For those who heard John's words scattered across the cities of the empire, this was a call to endurance, to rest in a faith that outlasts the powers of the world. The rhythm of their lives, prayer, work, quiet resistance, echoes the rhythm of the vision, steady as the waves outside. Picture a marketplace, the air alive with the chatter of trade, where this mark becomes a key to buying and selling, a pressure that weighs on daily life. The early Christians knew this pressure: exclusion from markets, suspicion from neighbors, the constant pull to conform. Yet, the vision offers contrast. Those faithful to the Lamb are sealed with a different mark, one of protection, their names known in a greater book. The air around them seems to carry a faint sweetness, like the memory of a promise kept. The air hums with a song of victory, not loud or triumphant, but calm, like a hymn sung in a quiet sanctuary. The faithful on earth, John's audience in cities like Ephesus or Philadelphia, would hear this as a promise that the forces opposing their faith are not eternal, that their struggles are seen in a greater light. Imagine the air around her, warm and fragrant, like a garden in full bloom. The scent of life mingling with the vastness of the cosmos, and formidable with multiple heads and horns, each crowned with a diadem that gleams faintly like tarnished gold. This beast is a symbol of earthly power, perhaps an echo of Rome itself, its authority vast yet flawed. It commands awe, demanding loyalty from those who dwell on the earth. Its voice, like the roar of waves, against a rocky shore. Imagine a city under its shadow, its streets lined with altars and statues. The air thick with the scent of incense offered to emperors and gods. The beast's power is real, yet temporary, a force that tests the faithful but cannot claim them. For John's listeners, this was their world emperors who demanded worship, decrees that pressed against their faith, yet the vision urges them to stand firm, to hold fast to a higher truth. This woman is a symbol of God's people, her child, a figure of hope, destined to rule with justice. The scene is serene, yet charged with purpose, like the calm before a dawn that changes everything. Outside, the waves lap steadily against the shore, their rhythm a constant companion, like the heartbeat of the island itself. John's quill moves slowly, his eyes distant, as he captures a new vision, one of cosmic struggle, yet woven with hope, like a tapestry of light and shadow. This is a story of spiritual warfare, of a woman, a dragon, and beasts that rise and fall, each a symbol in a drama that unfolds beyond the stars. Let's step gently into this vision, letting its rhythm guide us like a tide that carries us toward rest. The vision opens in the heavens, where a woman appears, clothed with the sun, its light wrapping her like a radiant cloak. But the vision shifts, and a great dragon appears, its form vast and shadowed, its scales glinting red like embers scattered across a night sky. This is no creature of flesh, but a symbol of opposition, of a force that seeks to undo the promise of the child. Its tail sweeps across the heavens, drawing a portion of the stars to the earth, a gesture not of destruction, but of defiance, like a storm cloud passing over a quiet valley. The dragon stands before the woman, its presence heavy, yet it does not touch her. Instead, the child is born a son, radiant, and whole land is lifted to safety, to a place prepared by divine hands. The woman flees to a wilderness, a place of refuge where the earth itself seems to cradle her, its air cool and scented with the dust of hidden paths. For John's listeners, this was a story of their own faith, pursued yet protected, a reminder that hope endures even in exile. The vision expands, and a war breaks out in the heavens, not with the clash of swords, but with a struggle of will and purpose. But the vision does not end there. From the sea rises, its form strange. Another beast rises, this time from the earth, its appearance deceptively gentle, like a lamb, yet its words carry the dragon's intent. Through this vision, John's quill moves steadily, capturing the struggle and the hope woven into its images. As we leave this scene, let the images fade: the woman's radiance, the dragon's shadow, the beast's fleeting power. God's wrath poured out, the 7 bowls and fall of Babylon. Imagine yourself once again in the quiet of John's cave on Patmos. The air cool and tinged with the faint scent of sea salt and damp stone, where 7 angels stand, each holding a golden bowl. Life within it falters, and the air carries the faint tang of salt and loss. Imagine a well in a village square, once a place of laughter, now silent, its water undrinkable. The earth feels the weight, its fields parched, the air shimmering with heat. The air grows heavy, the scent of fear mingling with the dust of crumbling altars. The earth trembles, cities falter, and the air is thick with the weight of finality. Islands shift, mountains bow, and a storm of hail falls, each stone heavy but measured. The lamp's flicker remains, its light steady, like the hope that sustains John. The vision is a call to rest in assurance, to trust in a justice that unfolds like the tides, steady and unyielding. The vision is not one of chaos, but of completion, like a chapter closing in a vast book. The city of Babylon, a symbol of corruption and pride, falls in a single hour, its towers crumbling, its markets silent. Imagine a city once alive with the clink of coins and the scent of perfumes, now still, its glory faded like a dream. The air carries the faint echo of songs from heaven, rejoicing not in destruction but in justice, in the vindication of those who endured. The vision does not linger on conflict, but on preparation, a moment when the world pauses before a final reckoning. Imagine a riverbank, once lush, now bare, the air carrying the faint scent of earth and expectation. For John's audience, the Euphrates was a boundary, a symbol of empires rising and falling. Yet, the vision points to a purpose beyond human ambition. The vision speaks of a power that seemed eternal, now faltering, its foundations shaken. For the early Christians, this was Rome's temples, its emperors, its demands for worship revealed as fleeting. The air around him is cool, the scent of salt and stone, a quiet anchor as he writes. The bowls are not a storm of wrath, but a series of signs, each one a call to see the fragility of human pride, the certainty of divine purpose. For those who heard John's words, living under Rome's shadow, this was a promise that the powers that pressed against them would not endure, that their faith was a light in the darkness. The bowl is a sign that even the mightiest powers are subject to a greater will, a call to endure in faith. People seek shade, their voices hushed, yet many do not turn back. The vision is calm, not chaotic, focusing on the choice to persist in defiance rather than the suffering itself. Imagine a farmer, his hands calloused, standing in a field where crops wilt, yet clinging to a faith that sustains him. For John's listeners, this was their world harvests uncertain, empires demanding loyalty, yet the bowl urges them to look beyond the heat, to a light that does not scorch, but restores. The air is dry, the scent of dust mingling with the faint hope of rain. The vision speaks of a world where even the essentials falter, yet it is not without purpose. The bowl is poured for those who turned from the divine path, a consequence of choices that ripple across generations. For the Christians of John's time, this was a reminder of their own struggles: water scarce, taxes heavy, faith tested, yet the vision points to a source that never fails. Picture a coastal village, its boats idle, the nets empty, the faces of fishermen etched with quiet resolve. The vision is not one of total ruin, but of a world tested, its rhythms disrupted, like a song that pauses mid-note. For John's audience, the sea was life trade, food, connection. This image would echo their fears of scarcity, yet urge them to trust in a provision beyond the waves, radiant and heavy with divine purpose. The air around them is warm, fragrant with the faint scent of incense rising from the prayers of the faithful, curling like mist in a sacred space. The throne of God looms in the distance, its light steady, like a beacon that never fades. The angels move with calm deliberation, their robes shimmering as they prepare to pour out the bowls, each one a vessel of God's final judgment. The scene is not loud or tumultuous, but weighty, like the stillness before a storm been foretold. For John's listeners, scattered across cities under Rome's shadow, this vision would speak to their hope a promise that injustice, though vast, is not eternal. The soft flicker of an oil lamp casts a gentle glow, its light dancing across the rough walls like a whisper of the visions John records, and a shadow falls over the earth. Those who bore the mark of the beast, who chose allegiance to fleeting powers, feel a sting, like a wound that lingers but does not consume. Imagine a city, its streets once bustling, now quiet, the air heavy with the scent of herbs burned in vain to ease suffering. The vision does not dwell on pain, but on consequence, a reminder of choices made and paths forsaken. For the early Christians, this was a world they knew, cities where loyalty to emperors was demanded, where refusal brought exclusion. The bowl is a call to see the fragility of such powers, to turn back to a truth that endures. Outside, the waves roll steadily against the rocky shore, their rhythm a constant soothing pulse, like the breath of the island itself. John sits, his quill moving slowly across parchment, his eyes fixed on a world beyond the Keva vision of final judgment, of bowls poured out and a city that falls. This is a story of consequence, not chaos, woven with a promise of renewal. Let's step gently into this vision, letting its rhythm carry us, like a tide easing toward the shore. The vision unfolds in the heavens. The first bowl is poured. The second bowl touches the sea, and its waters turn thick like a tide stilled by an unseen hand. The third bowl falls on rivers and springs, their waters turning bitter like the memory of a promise broken. The fourth bowl touches the sun, and its heat intensifies like a summer day grown heavy warmth. The fifth bowl darkens the kingdom of the beast, its power shrouded like a city where lamps flicker and fail. The sixth bowl dries the great river Euphrates, its waters receding like a path uncovered after a flood. The seventh bowl is poured into the air, and a voice from the throne declares, "It is done." Through each bowl, John's quill moves steadily, capturing the weight of this vision in the dim light of his cave. As we leave this vision, let the images soften the bowls emptying, the city fading, the cave returning to its quiet solitude. As we draw our journey to a close, imagine yourself standing once more on the rocky shore of Patmos, the air cool and fragrant with a scent of salt and sea. The waves lap gently against the stones, their rhythm steady like a lullaby sung by the earth itself. For the early Christians living in a world of stone and empire, it was a reminder that their struggles, whether in the bustling markets of Ephesus, the shadowed streets of Smyrna, or the quiet fields beyond, were seeing their faith, a light that could not be extinguished. There's no need to hold on to the story any longer. The story of Revelation is one of hope, of a return that brings not judgment, but renewal, a city where tears are no more. If you have any further requests, such as revisions, additional segments, or a new script, please let me know. Rest in that thought, in the quiet certainty that carries you forward. Good night, and may your dreams be as gentle as the tides. John's task was to write, to share a vision of triumph, and now that task rests complete in the words he left behind. You, too, can rest, letting the echoes of his visions fade into the peace of this moment. The world of Patmos, of emperors and exiles, is far away, and you are here, wrapped in the comfort of now, where the night is soft and the promise of sleep is near. John's words spoke of a world tested by judgment, yet held by a greater purpose, a promise of renewal that outlasted the powers of Rome, the glorified Christ, the Lamb, the throne of heaven. These were not distant dreams, but anchors, steady as the tides, calling them to hold fast. The sky above is soft with the hues of dusk, a canvas of gold and violet that stretches over the horizon. John's cave is behind you, its dim interior now quiet, the flicker of his lamp a distant memory. The visions he recorded: the woman clothed with the sun, the trumpets, the bowls, and the fall of Babylon, linger in your mind, not as a storm of images, but as a tapestry of hope woven with threads of endurance and promise. Let's rest here for a moment, letting the rhythm of this ancient story carry us toward peace. The book of Revelation, written in the solitude of exile, was not a cry of despair, but a song of certainty. Now, as you listen, let the weight of that ancient world slip away. Picture the cities fading, their marble columns and crowded streets softening into the dusk. The air grows still, the scent of salt and stone giving way to the comfort of your own surroundings, the softness of a blanket, the quiet of a familiar room. The struggles of John's time, the trials of his visions, are distant now, like waves retreating from the shore. Yet their hope remains, a quiet assurance that carries across centuries, whispering that even in the darkest moments there is a light that endures. Feel the rhythm of your breath, slow and steady, matching the gentle pulse of the sea. As the waves continue their endless dance, let your mind settle, your thoughts growing light, like stars blinking out in the dawn. This completes the full script for the true message of Revelation: Christ's triumphant return.